Hello, welcome back or welcome to my channel. It is Sunshine Lorena and I'm going to be taking you through my most anticipated releases January to March. Yes guys, so we are in 2023 and there are, as always, a lot of books coming out. I'm so excited. I'm going to take you through January, February and March's one that I'm really excited for. I have 12 on this list. If you watched my goals video, you'd have seen that. As always, I want to read new releases as well, obviously, as reading the backlist that is on the shelves. But this year I'm doing it in quarters. So January to March, April to June, etc, etc. Whereas last year I did it every month and it was a lot, and a lot of books. Whereas I think I'm more likely to read more of these if I do them in quarters and have less on the list. Hopefully I help you find some books that you didn't know were coming out and you are looking forward to it. So what I'm going to do is I will put timestamps. So I'm going to have January's, February's and then March's, and you can skip ahead to whatever month you want. And yes, let's just get into it. So the first one is one of the books that are highly talked about right now, and that is Spare by Prince Harry. This is coming out on the 10th of January, which is 4 days from now that I'm filming this. I have it in pre-order from Audible because I have credits. He is actually narrating the audiobook and I love it, first of all, when somebody narrates their own memoir. It just brings something else to it. Also, he just has a really nice voice as well. And to be honest with you, I just want to know the tea. As everyone knows, this is in the press right now. People are speaking about it. There's some details coming out being like, oh, this is going to be covered in the book. It's the tea, guys. It is the tea that we've all been waiting for. Well, we've been hearing some of it already, but I just want to see what he has in this. I believe it's going to be covering off different periods of his life. So obviously when he was a child, all the different things he has went through, but also obviously the most recent things going on over the last 3 years with Harry and Meghan leaving the royal family and moving to America. And yes, like I said, I'm just excited for the tea, okay? Just excited. But it's so appropriate that I'm drinking tea right now. Green tea, but I'm drinking tea. And that is why I'm looking forward to it. Nothing else really to say about this, apart from it is his memoir, and we all know that there is going to be some reveals in this, some big reveals. So yes, looking forward to that. Okay, next on my list for a January release is Your Place or Mine by Patricia McIntosh, and this is coming out on the 17th of January. I actually have this from NetGalley as an ARC, and I've still got to read it. I'll be reading it this month. It is romance. If you didn't know that, she is a romance writer. I have read one of her books previously and I really enjoyed it, so I'm really looking forward to it. She does really great romances. In this one, it's like two reluctant housemates. One of them is Serena. She's been kicked out of her flat for whatever reason. Her friend makes her an offer to come and house sit for her while her and her husband are away off travelling for some period of time. The only thing is, turns out that her friend's husband has also made the same offer to his friend. Friend is Ziggy. He is arrogant, annoying, etc. Obviously, you know, they're not getting on. For Serena, it's not ideal having to live with this guy that she finds really annoying. I think he's a musician as well, and they just obviously have clashing personalities. Part of the reason why they don't get on is that he claims the best room, he has loud parties, and the only way for Serena to get rid of him is to try and drive him out of the house. But Ziggy does realise what Serena's game is, and then some sort of like war ensues between them. So I'm getting enemies to lovers vibes of this book. There obviously something's gonna happen between them, but I love the whole like they're gonna be like warring between each other. I'm assuming it's gonna get petty because I feel like in these situations it gets petty, but it sounds really fun. It's gonna be a nice romance to break up like the different genres I'm reading this month, and I just think it sounds really, really fun. The next one on this list that's also coming out on the 17th of January is How to Sell a Haunted House by Grady Hendrix. I've read a few of his books already, and if you don't know, he does like a comedy horror. He really does bring comedic elements to his horror books, so they are funny. They tend to have like nostalgic vibes, as in like it kind of brings through those usual kind of tropes that you got from the old horror films. I always enjoy his books. They make me laugh. There are those horror elements, but it isn't super gruesome as some horror books would be, because it is the comedic element. It's funny. I really enjoy it. And when I saw that he was coming out with another one this year, I'm like, yes, I need to add that to my list. I need to read it because his books are so funny. I still have some of his backlist to read, but looking forward to this one. So the synopsis of this one: when Louise finds out her parents have died, she dreads going home. She doesn't want to leave her daughter with her ex and fly to Charleston. She doesn't want to deal with her family home stuffed to the rafters with the remnants of her father's academic career and her mother's lifelong obsession with puppets and dolls. She doesn't want to learn how to live without two people who knew her and loved her the best in the world. Mostly, she doesn't want to deal with her brother Mark, who never left their hometown, gets fired from one job after another and resents her success. But she'll need his help to get the house ready for sale because it'll take more than some new paint on the walls and clearing out a lifetime of memories to get this place on the market. Some houses don't want to be sold and their home has other plans for the both of them. So that sounds super intriguing. There's quite clearly some weird going on in this house, and I do love a haunted house story. Then the next one, which also is coming out the 17th of January, it appears to be the day to release books in January, and that is A Venom Dark and Sweet by Judy Lynn. So this is the follow-up to A Magic Steeped in Poison. This is the conclusion, so it's a duology. I haven't read A Magic Steeped in Poison yet. It's on my shelves. I'm gonna read it. It's not here, it's on a different shelf. I'm gonna be reading that this year for sure. And it's a duology, so I'm obviously gonna read up the follow-up. But in A Magic Steeped in Poison, it is based around tea magic. Our main character, I believe that she accidentally brewed the tea that killed her mother or sister, I can't remember exactly, and there was some tea interested travel and kind of that situation. So this is the follow-up. I'm not reading the synopsis because one, I don't want to spoil A Magic Steeped in Poison for myself, and I don't want to spoil it for you either. But yes, it's a follow-up. I love duologies. You get like a fantasy series done, but quite quickly, because sometimes they go on forever, and I think a duology is just perfect. And now on to those February books. So the first one I have on this list is A Song of Silver, Flame Like Night by Amelie Wen Zhao, and it's coming out on the 2nd of February. This is a fantasy book. I have this from NetGalley on my Kindle as an ARC, so I will be getting to this one very soon and reading it. It's part of one of my goals. Again, if you watch my goal video, you'll know this, that I want to read more fantasy. So, you know, we are getting more of these fantasy books on this list. But yes, this sounds so good. It's the first in the brand new fantasy series, and it just sounds so good. The cover art, which you should actually be able to see here, the cover art is just stunning and gorgeous, and I just love it. It's beautiful. And if I do really like this, I will be buying the physical copy because that is just stunning. This is a series based on Chinese mythology. So in this one, in a fallen kingdom, one girl carries the key to discovering the secrets of her nation's past and unleashing the demons that sleep at its heart. Once Lan and her had a different name. Now she goes by the one the Elatian colonizers gave her when they invaded her kingdom, killed her mother, and outlawed her people's magic. She spends her nights as a song girl in Haxgong, a city transformed by the conquerors, and spends her days scavenging for remnants of the past, for anything that might help her understand the strange mark burned into her arm by her mother in her last act before she died. No one can see the mysterious mark, an untranslatable hidden character, except Lan, until the night a boy appears at the tea house and saves her life. Zen is a practitioner, one of the fabled magicians of the Last Kingdom, whose abilities were rumoured to be drawn from the demons they communicated with. Magic believed to be long lost, magic to be hidden from the Elatans at all costs. Both Lan and Zen have secrets buried deep within. Fate has connected them, but their destiny remains unwritten. Both hold the power to liberate their land, and both hold the power to destroy the world. It sounds amazing. It sounds like it's going to be epic. I love when like magic's involved in fantasy and there's this kind of battle of good and bad. It sounds like there is the potential to be morally grey characters in this, which I absolutely love. I read the Poppy War series last year, and you know, there was that grey, kind of morally grey characters in there, and I love it. So I'm really looking forward to this one. Next up, also been released on the 2nd of January, and that I have an ARC for, so you know, I have lots of books to read this month, and that is The Davenports by Crystal Marcus. And this is a YA romance, like historical romance, I believe, and the premise sounds amazing. It sounds so intriguing. It did compare it to like Bridgerton, and I remember when I read the premise, but it doesn't exactly give Bridgerton vibes, but I get where they're going. It's historical romance, you know, but it's a bit different. So in this story, we're following the Davenport daughters, their maid, and their best friend as they try to navigate through life and love in a rapidly changing country. So this takes place in 1910. The Davenports are one of the few African American families who are wealthy. Families who have wealth and status in the United States. Their fortune was made by former slave William Davenport. The family now have servants, they have crystal chandeliers and endless parties, so they it seems that they have absolutely everything now. The world around these women are changing for better or for worse. Can romance blossom in these turbulent times? So it sounds really good. I do wonder if this is going to be a series. I have no idea. I just read the premise and I thought this sounds really interesting. You know, the early 1900s. It's obviously a time where things were changing a lot in the United States. It's going to be a really interesting read, and to see what happens. The next one on this list is Twisted by Emily McIntyre, and this is coming out on the 7th of February. And this is a romance, is part of the Never After series, which are based on fairy tales, but they're not really retellings, but they're like dark romances based on it. This is going to be the Aladdin one. Now, I've not yet read any of the others in the series. I have them all already waiting to read, because they are on Kindle Unlimited. This will be coming on Kindle Unlimited as well, but I love Aladdin. I love Aladdin. I love the story. And it's going to be really interesting because I believe she takes elements of these fairy tales, etc., and uses them to tell the romance story. It's not a direct retelling. It's not fantasy. It just sounds super. I just love it. So our main character, our main female protagonist is Yasmin, and she's the daughter of one of the richest men in the world and has never known any strife. So when her beloved father falls ill, she's determined to make his final days his happiest. His last wish, to see her married to a man of his choosing. Except Yasmin's heart already belongs to someone else, a servant, a street rat. A man her father would never consider worthy. Stuck between a rock and a hard place, Yasmin strikes a desperate deal with her father's right-hand man, Julian, not realising he has his own twisted agenda. Julian has one goal: become the most powerful man in the world. He's built a future from broken bones and faded bruises, never caring who he hurt along the way. But when his mentor falls ill, he finds himself on the verge of losing everything, and he'll stop at nothing to inherit what is rightfully his, even if it means forcing women he can't stand into marriage. Yasmin is a brat who speaks out of turn, and he's the villain of her story, but he decides she'll be his no matter what it takes to convince her. So this is given like Jasmine and Jafar vibes in this. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that pans out, and I'm excited to read it. Also coming out on the 7th of February, it is another romance because, well, you know, February has Valentine's Day and it seems like all of the romance books are coming out in February. It is Secretly Yours by Tessa Bailey. I read It Happened one summer in 2022 and I absolutely loved it. I need to read more of her romance stories. I've heard really good things overall about her books, so I'm super excited to read a new one that's coming out by her. So it does say perfect for fans of second chance romance, grumpy sunshine, which I absolutely love that trope, and small time romance, which I do enjoy, but grumpy sunshine, guys, grumpy sunshine is where it's at. So we have our main female protagonist, Hayley, who fell hard for Julian at 14 after they almost kissed in the dark vineyards of his family's winery. Now the prodigal hottie has returned to their small Napa town. When Hayley is hired to revamp the gardens on the Voss estate, she wonders if she'll finally get that smooch. But the grumpy professor isn't the teenager she remembers, and their polar opposite personalities clash spectacularly. One wine-fueled girls' night later, Hayley can't shake the sense that she did something reckless. And then she remembers the drunken secret admirer letter she left for Julian. On sabbatical from his Ivy League job, Julian plans to write a novel. But having Hayley gardening right outside his window is the ultimate distraction. She's eccentric, chronically late, and often literally covered in dirt. And so unbelievably beautiful that he can't focus on anything else. Until he finds an anonymous letter sent by a woman from his past. Even as Julian wonders about this admirer, he sucks further into Hayley's orbit. Like the flowers she plants all over town, Hayley is a burst of colour in Julian's grayscale life. For a man who irons his socks and runs on tight schedules, her sunny, chaotic energy makes zero sense. But there's something so familiar about her, and her very presence is turning his world upside down. And that sounds so good, and like I said, I love the grumpy sunshine trope, and it sounds like it's gonna be so good. It sounds like it's gonna be so good. I cannot wait to read this. The next one on this list is also coming out on the 7th of February, but it's not a romance this time, it's a fantasy novel. And it is Victory City by Salam Rushdie. In this one, in the wake of an insignificant battle between two long-forgotten kingdoms in 14th century southern India, a 9-year-old girl has a divine encounter that will change the course of history. After witnessing the death of her mother, the grief-stricken Kapana becomes a vessel for the goddess Parvati, who tells her that she will be instrumental in the rise of a great city called Bisinnaga, literally Victory City, the wonder of the world. Over the next 250 years, Pampa Capanana's life becomes deeply interwoven with Bizanya's as she attempts to make good on the task that Pravati set for her, to give women equal agency in a patriarchal world. But all stories have a way of getting away from their creator, and as years pass, rulers come and go, battles are won and lost, and agencies shift. Biznanga is no exception. It sounds really good, it sounds super intriguing, it sounds like it's going to be an epic story. I love when they go over several years, and I'm just super intrigued. I've never read a fantasy book set in India, so I think this is going to be super intriguing for me. And then the last book that is on this list for February, which is going to be released on the 16th of February. Again, it's another romance, guys. A lot of romance in this list. And that is Not That Kind of Ever After by Lucy Adams. So this one is set in 20th century London, fairy tale with an unforgettable twist. Once upon a time, in a flat shire south of the river, there lived an aspiring author named Bella Marble. Above all things, above her wish to be a writer, above absolutely anything and everything, Bella wants to find love, but one fateful week changes everything. When her best friend moves in with the most boring org in history, and her perfectly paired parents tell her that their own love story is coming to an end, Bella's illusions of finding the one shatters. With the help of her very own knight in shining Armani, Bella ditches the fairy tale and decides it's time to write herself a brand new kind of happy ending. And while London may be fresh out of Princess, it's got a surplus of frogs, and as Bella learns, kissing frogs can be extremely fun. I love the sound of it. I love how it's given that kind of classic kind of fairy tale kind of synopsis, and I'm just looking forward to what's going to happen in this one. So yes, that sounds really fun, and yes, it looks like there is a lot of romances in my future. And now on to the last two books, which are going to be released in March. The first one is coming out on the 14th of March, and this is a mystery book, and it is Vera Wong's Unsolicited Advice for Murderers by Jessie Q. Sutano. She is the author of Dilate for Aunties, which I absolutely loved. I love the sequels for Aunties and a Wedding. This isn't any relations to the Auntie stories, which, you know, I'm a little bit sad. I'm hoping that there's going to be a third one of the Aunties. However, I just absolutely love her writing, and the premise of this one sounds so funny. Her mysteries tend to be comedic as well, and they're just tend to be a good time. They just tend to be a good time. So Vera Wong is a 60-year-old self-proclaimed tea expert. She enjoys nothing more than sipping a good cup of oolong and has some healthy detective work on the internet, aka checking up on her son to see if he's dating anybody yet. But when Vera wakes up one morning to find a dead man in the middle of her tea shop, it's going to take more than a strong long drink to fix things. Knowing she'll do a better job than the police possibly could, because nobody sniffs out a wrongdoing quite like a suspicious Chinese mother with time on her hands, Vera decides it's down to her to catch the killer. Nobody spills the tea like this amateur sleuth. So yeah, it says Knives Out meets Kim's Convenience. I love Knives Out. I love King's Convenience, the program as well. So this sounds super fun, and I love amateur sleuths. I love her writing. I think it's gonna be funny. It's gonna be hilarious, and it's gonna be a good time. And the very last book on this list is a thriller. It's coming out on the 16th of March, and that is Red Queen by Juan Gomez Corrado. And this came out already back in 2018, I think, in Spanish. This is translated, it's the first time it's been translated to English. It is hugely popular in the Spanish speaking world. It's like an international #1 bestseller, and they finally got round to actually translate into English. It's supposed to be amazing. And I'm just looking at the synopsis now on Amazon, and it just says soon to be a major series for Amazon Prime, which I literally just found that out, and that sounds so good. So I'm expecting great things. It seems already has a huge following, like I said, and you know, it seems like it's so huge. It has great reviews. But the English version, I don't know why it took them so long to get the English one out, but they finally have. I do believe it's a series of books, thriller books, and I do love a good series in thrillers. So You've Never Met Anyone Like Her. Antonia Scott is special, very special. She's not a policewoman or a lawyer. She's never wielded a weapon or carried a badge, and yet she solved dozens of crimes. But it's been a while since Antonia left her attic in Madrid. The things she has lost are much more important to her than the things waiting for her outside. She also doesn't receive visitors. That's why she's really doesn't like it when she hears unknown footsteps coming up the stairs. Whoever it is, Antonia is sure that they are coming to look for her, and she likes that even less. So here it says actually it sold more than 2 million copies to date in Spain alone, this book. And yeah, it's internationally best-selling. So yes, it's a mystery. Like I said, it's a thriller series. I'm just excited. I've heard great things, and just it is finally in English, guys. Finally in English. I also got this from NetGalley. It is on my Kindle waiting for me to read it. But as you've seen from this list, I have a lot of books to read before that one. So I will get to this, and you will see a review, and you'll find out if I absolutely love it. And yes. And that's it. That is the last book on this list. Let me know if you have plans to read any of these. If there's any other ones coming out in these months that you think that I would be interested in, please let me know in the comments below. Hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more content from me. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye. Oh, you are squint, no? Are you? I feel like you're squint. I feel like you are not straight.